Can you elaborate on your views on healthcare for me?
Well, I can tell you that as we've been traveling throughout Nebraska, healthcare is the #1 issue in our state of Nebraska. And what I'm hearing is that families are facing increasing costs of healthcare, and we have to do better. And Senator Fisher is part of the problem when she votes along party lines 98% of those times, even when those votes hurt Nebraskans. And we're seeing her votes hurting Nebraskans with the increasing costs of health care and prescription drugs. We can do better. We need to find solutions. And what I would like to see us do a number of steps, but immediately we need to stabilize the health insurance market. We need to end the price gouging from the pharmaceutical companies, and they should be penalized for that. We need to use the enormous buying power of the United States to negotiate better prescription drug prices, particularly for Medicare Part D, and that impacts our seniors, and certainly for all families who are really struggling with the high cost of prescription drugs. And the next item we need to do is we need to extend those income tax credits for people who would like to get on the health exchange. So it shouldn't matter what your income level is. We know that every income level is facing increasing monthly premium costs, so we need to give them that tax income credit so the premiums are somewhat more affordable. And you know, what I'm hearing is in some counties in our state of Nebraska, they don't even have a primary care physician, so we need to encourage more use of nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, particularly in our rural communities, because they have the capability and the credentials to be able to provide and give prescription drugs, and that's something that we need to make sure that our communities out in rural areas have access to high quality health care, invest in rural telehealth, so that those folks out in Scottsbluff, if they need a specialist in Omaha, they can work with their nurse practitioner, physician assistants right in Scottsbluff without having to travel to Omaha. So we can implement these quick fixes that will provide some relief to our Nebraska families instead of what we see going on, repeal without a replacement that takes care of our Nebraska families. So we need to do much better. We need to fix what's wrong with the Affordable Care Act. We need to make sure we safeguard patients with pre-existing conditions. I'm not sure my opponent is so committed to that. We're hearing grumblings about that they want to do away with patient protections for pre-existing conditions, and we know that that's been a lifesaver for so many Nebraska families who otherwise would be facing bankruptcy with the enormous costs of health care for their loved one.
So now I know that your family owns grocery stores. How are you going to take those experiences for the grocery stores and help Nebraskans?
Well, yeah, I love that question because I'm a business owner, a job creator. I know what it's like to balance a budget. I know what it's like to make a payroll. And I say I bring my business brain with me wherever I go. Certainly I'm an elected official, but in the business world, you know, it doesn't matter what party affiliation you are. No one cares what party you are. You want to get a deal done. You want to get a project done. You want to get a transaction done. So you sit down at the table and you build on the elements you agree on. You work to come up with a solution, solve a problem, fix a project. And that's what I bring, you know, that I don't care what party persuasion you are. Nebraskans are independent-minded. I consider myself an independent-minded business leader. I've been an independent-minded elected official. I want to work with my colleagues on both sides. I want to be on those problem solver caucus, working with Republicans and Democrats, just building on the things that we can agree on, putting aside something that's a little bit more difficult, but do use the word compromise, and that's how we can actually come up with really good policy that'll benefit not only Nebraskans but Americans, making sure that we work together collaboratively, cooperatively, and get things done. I deal with operations, so you know it's plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D means I've got to get it done, and we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We need to work with our colleagues. Put party aside. There are a lot of critical issues facing our country right now, and we need to have elected officials who want to do that.
Definitely. So several states have approved medicinal and recreational marijuana. Do you think federal action should be taken?
I would like to see federal action, but until that happens, until I'm in office, we need to work with states' rights. And I certainly think that Nebraska hopefully is on the right track to approve medicinal marijuana. We know that many scientific studies have been done. I know the state legislature is looking at that, but I know that we would like to move that forward in our state of Nebraska, certainly on medicinal marijuana.
So you haven't said a whole lot on abortion, so what are your views on abortion?
Well, I do consider abortion a very emotional issue. It certainly is for me. I do consider it a moral issue. I do trust families. I do trust women to make the best decision for their family based on their own faith and based on the recommendation of their physician. I feel strongly that government has no business whatsoever in intervening and interfering with these most very personal, intimate, and very emotional and challenging decisions that should be left up to a family to make.
So in our last minute here, my last question for you, why should Nebraska voters send you to Washington?
Nebraska voters should send me to Washington and fire Senator Fisher because she is failing our Nebraska families. Her votes are hurting Nebraska families, increasing the cost of health care. She is failing our Nebraska seniors by not standing up and protecting Social Security and Medicare. She's voted for the privatization of Social Security. She's voted to increase the retirement age, and she would love to see it privatized so that it would be done with vouchers, and that doesn't help our seniors. And she's failing our farming family by not using her authority as a U.S. Senator to stand up and fight for our families, get those tariffs nullified, end the trade war, pass a farm bill. In our state of Nebraska, 1 in 4 jobs is ag-related. We need a senator who's going to stand up and fight for our families and listen to them. I took a pledge not to accept any corporate PAC money because my vote can't be bought. I will put the needs of Nebraska before party and our people before politics. I will always put Nebraska first.